Close your eyes and imagine this. After a long journey, you are standing in front of a large gate surrounded by stone walls. The sun has set, the sky is slowly darkening, and a wind carries the sound of footsteps and weary breaths from afar. This is not a palace, but tonight it is a sanctuary for you, a Seljuk Caravanserai. And when you step through this gate, the rhythm of time begins to change. Night fell silently on the roads of Anatolia. When the sun disappeared, not only the stars in the sky, but also the weariness within the travelers became apparent. It was at this very hour that the caravans, with one last effort, would head towards the large stone structure by the side of the road. The caravanserai's doors were heavy, built of thick stones, high and reassuring. Upon entering, the uncertainty of the outside world was left behind. The cold wind, the dark roads, the silent dangers, all remained outside the door. The first sounds echoing in the courtyard were the slow footsteps of the camels. The animals, which had carried loads throughout the journey, felt they could now stop. The hands that untied them were not hasty. Here no one hurried. Time flowed differently within the walls of the caravanserai. The sound of footsteps echoing on the stone floor mingled with whispered conversations. Each traveler came from a different place. Some carried spices, some silk, some just memories. But tonight they were all under the same roof. The caravanserai was more than just a place to stay. It was a stopover where roads crossed, a quiet space for agreement. Here, no one asked where you came from. You were simply expected to rest. A dim light burned in the middle of the courtyard. The fire cast soft shadows on the stone walls. These shadows seemed to carry the traces of past travelers. They had stood in the same place for centuries, observing the same silence. Slowly, the sounds faded. Conversations turned into short sentences, then ended completely. Long journeys made people think more than they talked, and thoughts grew heavier as the night progressed. These walls had listened to the breaths of countless travelers, their fears, their hopes, their weariness, but all of it dissolved here, in the same tranquility. If you listen carefully, you can still feel these stones whispering, the traces of footsteps from distant lands, and that profound peace that blends into the night. Soon we will move towards the interior of this caravanserai. We will discover together where travelers rested, how the animals were protected, and how this stone structure takes on a deep sense of peace in the later hours of the night. If this story resonates with you, and if you enjoy journeying through the calm rhythm of the past, you can join us in these silent tales by subscribing to the channel. For now, know that you are safe behind this door, and let your breath flow into the slow rhythm of the night. As night falls, the thick stone walls of the caravanserai gradually silence all sounds from the outside world. The travelers, weary from the wind, dust, and long journeys of the day, this is not just a resting place, but also a place of safety. The footsteps echoing in the courtyard are now slower. No one hurried. As the weariness of the long journey silently descends from one's shoulders, even sitting on the stone floor provides a feeling of relief. The architecture of caravanserais is no accident. Every arch, every wall, every narrow passage is designed to make the traveler feel protected. As darkness grows outside, the oil lamps inside cast soft shadows on the stone walls. These shadows are not frightening. On the contrary, They make one feel that one is not alone. Here, people do not speak loudly. Conversations are short, like whispers. Some simply lean their backs against the wall and close their eyes. Some slowly let go of the thoughts of the day in their minds. The journey is now behind them. The only thing that matters right now is Seljuk Caravanserais bring together people from different lands in the same silence. Their languages may be different, their paths may be different, but when night falls, everyone carries the same weariness, and this weariness over time transforms into peace. The only sound echoing in the courtyard is a light footstep from afar, or the touch of the wind on the lamp. These sounds do not disturb one. They slow down the mind. Thoughts progress more slowly. Breaths deepen without being noticed. That is why caravanserais are not only centers of trade, but also of rest. The nights spent here are the quietest moments of the journey, and one, without realizing it, leaves the anxiety within oneself between these stone walls. As the night progresses, activity within the caravanserai almost completely ceases. No one plans a new route anymore. No one looks at maps. Time flows differently here. Hours are not counted. Minutes are not measured. People simply remain where they are. For travelers who have come from long journeys, this resting place is a space where both body and mind rest. Thoughts, questions, and expectations carried throughout the day are slowly resolved. No one voices them aloud. Everything is experienced internally. Some sit leaning against the wall. Their gaze is fixed on a point, but in reality, no one is looking there. The mind tries to leave behind the images accumulated along the way. Mountains, passes, dusty roads, the scorching sun, all of them lose their meaning within these stone walls. Nights spent in the caravanserai are the quietest teacher of the journey. It reminds one to stop. It whispers that one doesn't have to constantly move forward. It makes one feel that sometimes staying in one place is also part of the journey. People from different lands find themselves in the same courtyard, but no one questions each other's stories. This is a silent agreement. Each traveler carries their own path within them, and this path becomes lighter as the night progresses. The coolness of the stone floor unconsciously helps regulate one's breathing. Shoulders relax. Hands no longer clench tightly. The body slowly releases the burden of the day. The architecture of the caravanserai reinforces this feeling. Thick walls separate the outside world from the inside. Narrow passages guide one inward. Every detail supports stillness, not movement. No one rushes to sleep on these nights. Everything unfolds over time. Even when the eyes close, the mind doesn't shut down immediately. Thoughts flow slowly, then fall silent at a certain point. This is how nights spent in Seljuk Caravanserais unfold. The road remains outside, for the first time one truly feels still. As the night progresses, life inside the caravanserai becomes even simpler. Conversations have completely ceased. The sounds don't diminish, they almost disappear. Only the presence of the space itself is felt. At this hour, a few people on duty pass through the courtyard with silent steps. Their presence is noticed but doesn't attract attention. The sound of a door closing is heard. A faint metallic sound comes from afar. Then stillness reigns again. Movement has also slowed in the sections reserved for animals. The horses and camels, resting after the long journey, are now standing. Their breathing is regular. The loads carried throughout the day lose their meaning at this night. Like people, animals also adapt to the tranquility of this place. The Caravanserai encompasses not only the travelers, but also the roads themselves. Everything outside softens here. The emptiness in the middle of the courtyard becomes... No one stands there, but everyone feels its presence. This emptiness seems reserved for thoughts. It offers nothing when looked at, but it calms the beholder's soul. They lie with their eyes open. They look at the ceiling or the wall, but their minds are no longer filled with the harshness of the journey. More long-forgotten moments. A house, a face, a voice. Thoughts suppressed along the way slowly emerge during these nights, but they don't weigh heavily on them, because the place continues to carry the person. That's why Seljuk Caravanserais are not just a stopover. They were built to lessen the burden the road places on the person. Stone walls not only provide protection, they also confine the inner world of the person. As the night approaches its deepest point, time becomes increasingly blurred. How long one has been here loses its importance. Where one will go tomorrow is not yet considered. Only this moment exists. At this hour of the night, the Caravanserai ceases to be merely a structure. It transforms into a space where time temporarily stands still. Outside there are roads, distances, and uncertainty, but within these walls, all of that is left behind. Some are sleeping, but others are not. Some simply lie down, keeping others, even with their eyes closed, do not wander to distant places. Thoughts have adapted to the rhythm of this space. A traveler leaning against a stone wall no longer feels the weariness on their back. The weight of the day slowly dissolves. Muscles relax, breathing becomes deeper. The body spontaneously surrenders to this stillness. The architecture of the Caravanserai is designed for these moments. High walls block the wind. Thick stones soften the coolness of the night. Sound does not echo, nor do thoughts. Here, no one is obliged to watch anyone else. No one has to... The things that were important on the journey become unimportant on this night. Only the human remains. Once upon a time, among these stones, merchants had set aside their accounts. Soldiers had unbuckled their armor. Scholars had closed their books. Everyone was equal in this. At this point in the night, the Caravanserai ceases to be a place where different languages, different origins, different paths intersect. Only one rhythm remains, one breath. The emptiness in the middle of the courtyard is still there, but now it has merged with the darkness. One doesn't need to look to... It is enough to feel it. Time grows heavy. Minutes don't count. Hours lose their importance. It's as if the night wants to last a little longer, and man, without even realizing it, forgets that he is a traveler. Night has now fully settled in. The Caravanserai's walls have absorbed the last traces of the day. The light has diminished. The sound has almost completely faded. At this hour, the space doesn't carry the person. The person becomes a part of the space. The breathing of those sleeping is regular. Those awake don't try to hold on. The mind behaves like a long journey at this hour. It starts from one point and moves forward without knowing where it's going. Time flows differently inside this stone structure. The hours spent in the outside world lose their meaning here. There is no haste of morning or tomorrow. Only the present exists. For centuries, thousands of people have been found at the same hours, in the same silence. None of them know each other, but they all share the same feeling. To stand in the middle of the road, neither to go forward nor to turn back. That's what Caravanserai nights are for, so that a person can catch up with themselves. Even the coldness of the stones is not hard at this hour. The walls act like a protective shell. Everything that might be outside, the wind, the distance, the uncertainty, it all stays outside. The traveler lies on his back. His eyes are closed, but he doesn't force himself to sleep. His mind slowly slows down. Thoughts no longer clash. Another person, for the first time in his life, stands without planning anything. He doesn't think about where he'll go tomorrow, nor where he came from today. That's why the Caravanserai is safe, not just for bodies, but for minds too. Here, man doesn't carry himself. The stones carry him. At this point in the night, a balance is established within the space. Neither a smooth transition between the two states, and in this transition the breath lengthens, the muscles relax. Man, without realizing it, reaches the calmest moment of the journey. As the night progresses, the atmosphere inside the Caravanserai changes. This change is not sudden. No one notices, but everyone feels it. Thoughts that were heavy a while ago, the mind begins to shed the burdens it carried along the way, one by one. They are neither completely forgotten nor dwelled upon. They are simply left behind. At these hours, the place itself speaks. The stones do not hide what they saw during the day, but they do not tell either. They simply exist. A traveler tosses and turns on the threshold of sleep. He has not yet entered the dream, but reality is now far away. A silent void forms between the two worlds. This void does not disturb. On the contrary, it carries a tranquility that spreads within one. Time does not speed up here. It does not slow down either. It simply expands. Caravanserai nights teach one to stop, not going, not rushing, observing oneself. In another corner, the weariness of a long journey has been lifted from the shoulders, muscles are relaxed, breath is deeper, the body has let go. A road still stretches out outside, but it is not important for now. There is tomorrow, but it does not interfere with this night. Decisions made at these hours are not permanent. Even the questions are not clear. The harsh edges of the mind soften. Thoughts lose their sharpness. Here a person is neither a merchant nor a traveler, nor among the stones in the night, independent of time, and this state, unnoticed, begins to lean towards sleep. Night is no longer just a period of time. It has transformed into a... The walls of the Caravanserai have long forgotten the harshness of the day. The traces left by the sun have been erased, replaced by the soft tones of dimness. At these hours, one doesn't even want to hear their own voice. What passes through one's mind turns into a whisper. Thoughts are not clear, but they are peaceful. It is as if the paths within the mind, just like this Caravanserai, have withdrawn to rest for a while. A traveler closes their eyes, but they don't fall asleep immediately. First, they wait for their body to relax. The feet shed the distances they carried throughout the day. The shoulders are freed from their burdens. The breath deepens imperceptibly. These moments are not rushed. Even sleep is patient here. In the nights of the Caravanserai, no one is in a hurry to get anywhere. The hours have no meaning. Time is not measured, it is felt. For a moment there is no difference between people who have come from distant lands. Language, title, purpose, all become blurred. Only one common state remains: rest. This rest touches not only the body, but also the memory. The experiences on the road, the faces encountered, the cities passed through, all slowly fade into the background. The night organizes the inner self. It weeds out the unnecessary. It leaves behind a simple silence. This silence does not create a feeling of emptiness. On the contrary, it holds you, it embraces you, like stone walls, solid but soft. The Caravanserai at this hour ceases to be a structure. It transforms into a transitional space between wakefulness and sleep, between thought and feeling. And in this transition, no one is alone. Everyone, without realizing it, breathes in the same rhythm. The night has begun to unravel, but it hasn't yet dispersed. This interval is where the deepest peace resides. Time is no longer measured in the Caravanserai. There are no clocks, there are no calendars. There is only a slow flow dissolving within the stone walls. As the night progresses, the movements of the travelers diminish. Conversations give way to whispers, and the whispers eventually disappear completely. Everyone withdraws into their own thoughts. Some contemplate the long journeys, the cities left behind, faces that may never be seen again. Others simply they neither delve into the past nor calculate the future. They simply remain in the present moment. This is the strongest aspect of Seljuk Caravanserais. They stop people, they slow down time, they remove the competition from the journey. These structures were not built only for merchants. They are also a refuge for weary minds, a safe space for long silences. Every sound echoing under the stone arches quickly disappears. The walls do not retain sound. They soften it. It takes away the sharpness, just like it takes away the tension inside a person. At this hour of the night, the Caravanserai ceases to be just a building. It becomes a resting place, a threshold. It transforms into the fine line between movement and stillness. Here, no one hurries. No one tries to prove anything. The road doesn't impose its own rhythm, and this calmness settles into one's soul without being noticed. Breathing becomes more regular. Shoulders relax. The mind begins to set aside heavy thoughts. Perhaps that's why nights spent in Seljuk Caravanserais were unforgettable, because here one remembers that one is human before being a traveler, that even stopping for a while is a journey. At this stage of the night, the Caravanserai is completely cut off from the outside world. The wind strikes the thick walls and changes direction. The distant step cannot carry its sound here. Those inside unconsciously. No one plans this. No one wants this. But it happens. A traveler sitting in a corner feels his thoughts losing speed as he gazes at the stone floor. Elsewhere, a weary body realizes, for the first time in a long time, that it doesn't have to carry itself. Nights spent in these structures teach one something silently, without force. What is taught is not great, but it is lasting. Every road needs a stop at some point. Every progress loses its meaning without a break. Seljuk Caravanserais are the architecture of these stopping places. The stones are not merely stacked on top of each other. They are woven together between weariness and patience. Every arch, every column reflects an unhurried understanding. No one plans for the future on these nights. The city one will be in tomorrow loses its importance. What matters is the lightening of the weight of the present moment. In this tranquility, one comes closer to oneself. Neither the burden of the past feels heavy, nor does the road ahead frighten one. It is as if the road lifts from one's shoulders for a short time, and this, without being noticed, transforms into an inner serenity. Therefore, the Caravanserai is not just a stopover, it is a conscious void left so that the journey can continue without tiring the person. As the night progresses, the stone walls of the Seljuk Caravanserai stand not merely as a structure, but as time itself. The footsteps that have worn down the road all day have ceased, the breaths of the animals have calmed, and the thoughts of the travelers have withdrawn into themselves. This is no longer a resting place, but an intermediary time. The stories carried by those who came from distant lands are not told aloud at this hour. They hang suspended among the stones. Under each arch lies the trace of another path. Each column is a silent witness to a night. The Caravanserai does not let the uncertainty outside in. The thick doors keep out not only the cold but also the haste. Here, no one is obliged to catch up with tomorrow. The hours do not advance, they only deepen. The traveler sitting in a corner no longer thinks about where he came from. Where he is going is also not important. On this night, simply being is enough. The coolness of the stone floor slows down thoughts. The faint light of the lanterns weighs down the eyelids. Seljuk caravanserais were built for times like these. Not just for trade, not just for the road, so that people could reach their own inner silence. Outside, the sky is fixed with its stars. It neither increases nor decreases. Inside, everything sounds diminish. Movements become smaller. The mind slowly lets go of the burden of the day. These stone structures have served the same purpose for centuries: to protect travelers, to slow down time, and to surrender to the natural rhythm of the night. Perhaps that is why a night spent here feels longer than a journey, because depth is gained, not distance. Thoughts are listened to, not steps. If your eyes grow heavy while listening to these moments, it is very natural. This story is not for speeding up, but for slowing down. Now the Caravanserai is becoming even calmer towards the end of the night. The stones are cooling, the lights are dimmer, and time almost stands still. In the next chapter, we will move towards the silent closing of this night. But for now, stay here, in this moment, right in the middle of this stillness.